evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Mahoning Drive-In Theater, the largest single-screen drive-in in the United States. We're certainly glad you could be with us this evening, and don't forget the concession stand is open with all kinds of great things to eat and drink.
89.3 Mahoning Drive-In Radio, your old friend Virgil back once again for another exciting episode of the podcast, the only podcast dedicated to the love and revival of our beloved drive-in culture. Joined as always by my co-host and general manager extraordinaire, Mark. Say hello.
Hello.
And we got King Jeff, owner, projectionist extraordinaire. Say hello, Jeff.
Hi, everybody. You're such a ham.
I do the song and the dance, right?
Yeah.
So as we continue our series of conversations with drive-in owners across the country and now across the world, we're super excited to welcome the owners of the Litchfield Drive-In along historic Route 66 in Litchfield, Illinois, the Litchfield Skyview. So welcome Mindy and Nick to the show.
Glad to be here.
How you guys doing?
So,
all right.
First off, we got to ask, are you in the off season? Are you guys year round? What's happening?
It is technically the off season, so some of us are busy getting ready for the season and some of us are working on other things.
Yeah, I feel that. Well, the off season's a whole other vibe, you know. It's a whole other set of work that has to go into the off season. So how was last season? How was things for you in old 2022?
It was a really good season. We had a lot going on. We did the Guinness Book of World Records event with Mobile One. We had our first carnival. We had all sorts of things going on last year. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's super cool. We are going to get into things here and kind of give our fans and listeners a layout of what the Litchfield is all about. Do you guys call it the Skyview or the Litchfield to break yourself apart from all the other Skyviews?
We usually say Litchfield Skyview, yeah.
So yeah, why don't you give people a layout where you guys are located? Is it rural? Or you guys kind of build up around open?
We would be considered rural. We're pretty much smack dab between St. Louis, Missouri and Springfield, Illinois on Interstate 55.
And then 66 runs through our town, and then a couple of the little ones before and after us, all the way back and forth between those two areas pretty much. We are in a unique spot on 66. Our supporters sometimes fly into Chicago or St. Louis and then visit us on their 66 excursion or holiday. We've had people from Shanghai, Australia, you name it.
Goodness, we love it. The reach of the drive-in goes well beyond the American love or even just like the local love. Most of our fan base is coming in from Philly, Jersey, New York. It's not necessarily the folks in Lehighton, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we do.
And being along Route 66 seems to be a huge claim to fame for you guys. One of 4 original drive-ins left along Route 66.
Well, and we need to do a little bit more research, but recently we saw that 2 more have gone and we're just kind of not sure where we're on that list, but yes.
That's incredible. And do you guys see a huge attraction crowd where people are making the trip and make a point to stop at the drive-in and all that?
I would say more so since the pandemic. Before the pandemic, anybody might stop by in the middle of the week. You were there for an hour or for 6 hours. Somebody'd inevitably pop in, come in the exit, take a few pictures and move on. And they could be from anywhere in the world. And then we'd have one here or there on a show night. But now it seems like we get people on show nights that we're one of their destinations. We're one of their stops.
Right.
That we were part of the plan. And we do offer an overnight parking so they can do that and they get real excited about that. And it's only $10 extra a person. So they get to spend the evening at the drive-in and then they get to spend their night in their car along Route 66 and they get super excited about both.
Come on, we love that. We offer extended passes that allow people to, what we originally pushed it for was a safety protocol. We had people coming in a long distance and, you know, it created a situation where we were running movies till 3 a.m. and people are driving all sorts of tired out onto the roads. It just made more sense to say, hey, why don't you guys stay a couple hours, catch some winks, and then hit the road, you know?
Yep, that's exactly what we were thinking. That works great too. Yeah.
Beautiful model. I love it. So why don't we get a little history of the Litchfield Skyview? Opened in 1950, the year after the Mahoning Drive-In Theater opened. So we are right there, baby.
Woohoo!
I love it. So you guys have been there for the last 7 or 8 years, am I right?
It'll be our 8th year.
Yeah.
This year.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is it family owned and operated? Was it passed on to you guys, or did you come into the love of the drive-in and acquire it?
Well, we
There's been a little bit of all of that
it's-
along the way.
family run now.
Yeah,
we're
very hands-on.
partners with my father and mother.
Awesome.
We're all partners in it.
We've been working together every weekend of the summer for 8 years.
It came up for sale there about 8 years ago. We came across it, and my father and I are both electrical contractors by trade, and we had done most of the work whenever the upgrades were completed on the Skyview, so we kind of knew the ins and outs of it, and we came across it being for sale and thought, well, this is kind of unique, maybe we ought to give this a shot. So,
Oh, wow. Did you grow up going to the Litchfield?
oh yeah,
We did.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. It's the dream, like we all three of us fell in love with drive-ins as kids, and it burrowed into our hearts, and the dream of running a drive-in one day always lingered in the mind. And what brings people to become drive-in owners is one of the most fascinating parts of this podcast. So you guys went in on it. It's a family affair with mom and dad.
Yes.
That's truly the dream. I got my daughter working the concession stand now. And, my little munchkin who's 5 now, he's taken such a love to the drive-in. And I know the years are coming.
It's already familial, but when it becomes truly familial, it becomes an extra level of sweet. So what's the history? 1950, you guys were a single screener, I take it, when you opened?
Yeah. We actually are built with 2 screen spots, but they only had the one ever put in. There were 1, 2, 3 owners before Norma and Del Paul purchased it.
Mhm.
Norma and Del Paul were the owners before we took over, and they'd had it for quite some time. They had Carol Stuttle as their manager, and Carol worked for 4 of the 5 owners. And then she came on as a manager when we started. So she helped us get moving and get going and explain a lot to us. And
Yeah, she knew all the ins and outs. She had been, when she retired with us, she had been there for over 50 years. So,
53.
I'm telling you, drive-in lifers, it hooks you.
When the guys would stop on the train tracks out back so that they could take their break, watch the movie, and come up and get food.
the engineers.
Mhm.
Amazing. So amazing. So they ran it. What was the situation when he was getting out of it? Was he just getting up there in age and looking to sell it?
Actually, he had passed away, and the kids that had inherited it, they ran it for a couple years and then decided that it wasn't for them. And so
When we took it over, they were still doing, were they still doing $1 a night or $2 a night?
no, it was up to $3.
It was up to $3.
$3 a person when we took it.
Wow. So they were doing everything that they could.
Yeah, they were, basically running C movies just to keep it open as a loss leader. And it was, it wasn't serving its purpose for anybody anymore.
Now, I don't know if you said it, the landscape. You guys, you're not totally built up. Is it open?
We are not totally built up. When you come in, we do have the typical bushes to mark the pathway that you're supposed to go along the fence to come in. And then we have a big, huge lot that will hold 800 cars. And to the back of the lot is what we call the swamp. It's just a built up green grassy area, and that is actually where that second screen would go. And a lot of our wildlife lives back there. We never know what you're going to see. We've seen a deer, foxes, you just never know. And then in front of that parking area, there is another big green space under the screen. We do not have a playground, but that is considered playland. Let's see. Oh, we do have another great big huge green space both to the south and to the north. And last season we had our carnival and it fit in that green space to the north. So this season we're going to open with the same carnival and close with a bigger one.
Oh, that's so killer. To be able to have the space. I don't know why I was thinking or remembering that you guys had 2 screens. So you're single screen still.
Yep.
Yeah, we're still
Yep.
a single screen. Yeah.
Represent, baby.
And that carnival, is that carnival like the whole shebang, rides and games and booths and all
Oh
that?
yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, you guys know it. The drive-in is a community space, and holding community events is like bread and butter. You know, you mix that action, you can't go wrong.
It's actually some of the stuff we're looking into maybe adding this season. We have a local pickers market the second Sunday of the month every month, and they need somewhere to put crafters and possibly some other things like that, maybe do a food truck lot. So we're never ever tried to encroach on that or make anything big out of it, but I think it's time to participate.
Well, we kind of got into it with going to the Litchfield as a child, but do you guys have those drive-in memories specifically from the Litchfield or any area drive-ins?
We've actually never been to any other drive-ins ourselves, but yeah, the Litchfield one, we've been going since we were little kids. And I mean, my first memory there, I'm sure there was probably some cartoon that I was there for, but there was a second movie that was on, and that's the only thing I remember is it was some kind of some axe murderer was trying to get into the bedroom with this lady, and I have no idea what the movie was, but I do remember that being the first one I can remember seeing.
And then he doesn't like horror movies, and he wonders if that's maybe the reason why.
You're traumatized. That model of having the family film up front and then taking a hard right turn into the R.
Right.
You know,
I'm sure
it opened a lot of kids' eyes, right?
As far as I go, all I can really remember is the excitement of getting to sleep in the car without your seatbelt on. And I do remember pretending to be asleep a time or two. You know how it was back then. Seatbelts were armed sometimes, so you could lay in the seat and hope you made it home safe. And it was kind of a big deal to have been laying in the seat. But that's more of what I remember.
Yeah, and those are the little memories, you know, people. Every single person we talk to, from the celebrity guests to drive-in owners to the people who come out, they all have a memory of the drive-in and can never remember the movie specifically. It's always the experience that they remember, you know? And that's the thing, you know, to think that we're doing that every single night that we allow people to come through the gate is pretty magical. So the layout, you said are there no other drive-ins around you guys?
There's one north of us about an hour, and then there's one south of us about an hour. Other than that, everything's at least 3 to 4 hours away.
What about the indoor situation? Do you guys have a lot of indoor competition around?
There is one theater in town that's a 4-screen indoor. The other towns around us each have one, small indoor. 2 indoor, 2-screen.
Little movie houses?
There's the Marvel, the Orpheum, and then West Side
Cinema in Litchfield, yeah.
As much as we love drive-ins, that love crosses over to those classic movie houses.
Absolutely.
It's just good to have a community around you because you know it. You guys are running First Run.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we do. We actually do a little bit of both.
Yeah, we switch back and forth.
Feed everybody.
Well, running DCP, it's nice to have, some neighbors in the community so you can be like, oh, crap, I didn't get the man called Otto or whatever the movie.
Yeah.
I think this has turned into a much bigger thing than we ever thought it would be. It was supposed to be this extra side thing on the weekends to do some community to, make things go just for shits and giggles. And it turned into this huge, massive community thing where instead of having our local town fair, we have it.
Well, and I think for us, growing up on Route 66, it's, it was like, okay, yeah.
They never
it's
taught
Route
us anything
66,
about it.
It runs through our town, but we didn't really. The thing it actually was until, we got involved with the ownership of the Skyview.
Yeah. And now we've got car shows coming through, 66 people coming through. The Missouri Route 66 organization is kicking off their tour this year with us. And then they're going down to Cuba, Missouri. And we're going to do a night at the movies. We've got a sponsor that's going to pay for the evening. And we're going to see about doing a parade of lights with all of them through town. We got all sorts of things planned.
Oh, I love it. The creativity. That's the thing that really sparks us where, any indoor, any drive-in running first run, they can come in, they can run the movies, they can go by the book, but getting creative and finding a way to make the experience extra special, or even just draw the attention of people who would never think of going to a drive-in. That's what I find now, is there really is a challenge having indoor people come in versus the drive-in people and winning them over on what it means. It's not hard because it's magic, but
It comes down to that experience, just like you're saying. And the experience can be from answering someone on Facebook all the way to how you handle it whenever they call and have a special request or question or any of those things. That's a big part of the experience.
So we all went through it. The pandemic was the situation that shined a light on drive-ins. Terrible for the world, great for drive-ins. So how was that for you guys? Did you see a big boost in attention?
We kind of saw a lull and then a little bit of a boost. We, like everybody, we learned to pivot. Our theater holds 800 plus cars, and with pandemic parking, we parked everybody with an empty spot next to them. The concept being that they could get out, but still be in and still be safe. And we utilized that for the local graduation, as well as for some other things in that time frame. The graduates even got to take a victory lap in their cars through the lot, so grandparents and everybody in the back could see them too.
I love it.
That's kind of what sparked the parade of lights there for the other event too, though. So, it's just kind of the same thing. We're reusing some of those ideas, finding other ways to change them up and make them better for the next time, and just kind of give families and everybody who wanted it a place to go and not be in the house. And now that everybody can be out, they can still come do this too. Now they've got their addiction, now they got to come see us.
It's the hook, it really is. We see every season there's that person who comes in, they're unsure, they stay near their car by themselves, and give it a month, they're inside the booth chatting it up, wanting to become friends with everybody. They got a whole crowd of friends. It's the familial atmosphere and ease of making friends at the drive-in is just it's a part of the magic.
We have some guys that will come, and I can think of two specifically. There's a young couple and a gentleman that will be there every single weekend we are open. And then we have another gentleman that is there literally every single night we are open.
Oh, and it's one of those things, like we call them our front row regulars, where it's like they have their specific spot. They're there, when to rely on them. And they become part of the family. There's several who now are part of our staff.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, you're here all the time. Why don't you just throw an apron on while you're at it?
I love it.
Get something out of it. I mean, you're going to be there anyway.
Well, that's what we figured, is that they're there all the time. They obviously care about the place, and they sort of know how the operation works. So there's actually less training involved when we get somebody they go from paying to be there all the time to getting paid to be there all the time.
Not a bad gig. So I take it your guys' layout is similar to ours, snack bar, middle of the lot.
Yep.
Is your projection booth connected to the snack stand, or do you have a standalone? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a breezeway where you can enter from?
Yep.
It sounds like it's very similar to ours.
Yeah. We do have a circle drive-through out on the other side of the screen, so if people are stopping just to look, they can. We do have our original sign out front. We do have a wayside exhibit, which the state of Illinois and the Route 66 community went together and did some special things there. And so several of the 66 event spaces or special things like ours, that have been there forever, they got a wayside exhibit. Ours, you push the button and it'll tell stories of patrons that came in the early days. And it's got some different pictures and that pictured on the stand. It's kind of cool.
This is all coming back to me now. The idea that you could, search and see like, oh, is there any drive-ins in the area? And even if you're not there, you push a button and it gives you a breakdown of the history. That is another level of awesome.
We love it. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
You said that was put in as part of the Route 66 initiative?
We have a scenic byway here in Illinois that works with Route 66 community members to keep tourism alive. And we are one of those things, one of those people, one of those event spaces. So,
like you said, the idea of growing up with Route 66, you don't think anything about it. And Jeff has a great quote in the documentary, I think, but he said it to me. The Empire State Building being in your backyard just kind of loses its majesty after a while, and you don't realize how great it is. And that was the case with our drive-in. It really was forgotten about by the locals, and sometimes it just takes those connections and finding what's beautiful and important about it and shining a light on it to bring it to life.
Absolutely. I like the way you talk.
Well, the best part of doing this podcast, and especially this series with the owners, we are the same people. Like, we are living the same life, the grind, the late night, the dealing with the studios. It really is. We're in a small group, but I feel so comfortable talking to owners because I know, like, we are totally akin, even if we're across the country, across the world.
Absolutely.
Well, if you guys are like us and your layout is like us, the space has to be tight in the concession stand. Now, I'm just assuming that's the case, but what's your layout in the stand?
There's basically an entrance on both sides, the south side and the north side there. And then we've got the rails there in the front that kind of guide you through. And of course you hit, the popcorn first and then the drinks and
the corral. Yeah.
Make your way all the way up to the register for checkout. Get your candy and burgers and fries and all that stuff. And
now, are you guys self-serve, or are you kind of point of sale situation where you take an order or you make it, or do you guys have like hot warmers where people are grabbing their food along the route and filling a tray?
Yes.
Yes.
Both. Yes, I do.
Well, during COVID there, we had the walk-up window. We actually had shut down the inside area. So we were taking orders and then delivering them to the other exit, basically. But now we've opened everything back up, and it's basically self-service. So, yeah.
Whenever we're really busy, the guys are back there pumping through the pizzas, and if the cabinet's full for a little while, at least it helps make things a little smoother. But we don't cook anything or make anything, popcorn included, till the night of. It's just like everybody else, so it's all fresh.
Well, that's the move. Yeah, we just did an interview with the Lunar Drive-In in Australia, and they have, I think they said, like 12 stations, point of sale stations. So it's a whole other world that he's running. Where, the benefit that we find having self-serve, people will grab and fill that tray like it's like there's no other biz. When you are there making a decision, I know I do it. It's like, all right, let me do the math real quick in my head. Let me see here. Like, when you have free reign to grab it, all bets are off.
Right. And that's kind of the nice thing about having it there out in front of them is then you kind of get those sales there.
It's definitely not a hard sell,
it entices you. It's there looking at you.
We see that with our fries and stuff. We offer, cheese topping or chili. We have chili on hand. And how many times has been somebody gets the chili fries and then somebody else goes, oh, well, those look really good. Yeah, let me get those too.
What do you guys find is your most popular item? Do you guys do any specialty items?
Well, I mean, besides the popcorn and candy.
And I would say our popcorn lady is just as beloved and favorited as our popcorn, because she's been there just about as long as Carol had.
Yeah, she's got it down to science.
She keeps track of how many poppers she has each night and tells us at the end of the night how many poppers we have and everything.
Oh, that's amazing. The popcorn rock stars.
Yeah, we can actually ask her occasionally. It's like, okay, how many people are in the lot tonight? She says, oh, let me count my poppers. She can throw out a number and be within, usually within about 10 to 15 of what.
We got really lucky when it came to some of those legacy people being on staff with us. And at this point, almost all have retired, but boy, let me tell you, even still last year with a few of them retired, people were asking for them, wanting to know where Carol was and how she is. And this year, if we do lose those few remaining legacy, I'm sure that we'll be asked every night where Ellen is and how come she's not doing the popcorn. So
It's our popcorn rock star. That's so beautiful. I mean, it is. It's one of those things, you know, passing the legacy down is one thing, but having somebody that has, you know, seen the place grow and change hands and carry on, and
yeah,
you know, it's really a special situation. Well, besides the food, what's the what do you guys think's the standout? You guys have a marquee by the road?
and it's old school. It's got the neon on it, and we change the letters every evening, or you know, once or twice a week anyway.
Chaser bulbs and everything. Of course, we upgraded all that to LED, but
it still chases and still has fun.
With the working neon.
Oh yeah.
So no worry of stone getting kicked up, anybody coming by. That's our biggest worry. It really is.
Yeah, that's the only thing we have problem when we have hail.
And our original screen was actually knocked down by a tornado.
Stop. Was this during your guys' run?
No, this was back in I think it was 1982. It was taken down. That was when it originally had the wood screen and had the
big star on the back,
wing walls and everything. Yeah.
It was traditionally shaped then, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, totally. That's the thing we really love, you know, the history. Is there anything when you guys came in that, you know, had remained on site for years that hadn't been touched, or did you guys find that over time the owners had practically remodeled and upgraded?
No, I think with this one, it was more of a we'll add on, but we can use what we've got. Let's rearrange it.
They had pretty well gone through all the utilities and everything and been all upgraded. And
but so far as the building goes, it's still the old stone block.
The old block building.
Yeah, and the leaning window that you hit your head on if you get too close to look out of it. You guys
it's got its quirk. You're like, I know the utilities are great because I did the work.
Yeah. 100%.
Let's go back to the early days of when you guys first jumped into this and made the gamble to become drive-in owners. What were those first couple years like? Was it a smooth transition from management to management, or did you guys find you had a situation on your hand that you had to seemingly rebuild?
It was kind of a combination with the past owners leaving the price the way it was and playing mostly C movies. We had to build up what was there and even build up a better expectation. I know there were people who told us when we bought it, we'll never pay $5 to go see a movie at that place, even if it's brand new. And of course, they've been there since.
Dropping their dime.
Right. But at the same time, there was a little bit of both there. Yeah. Having the legacy staff members made it so much better for us, so much easier. I don't think we could have done as well without them.
They pretty much kind of introduced us, okay, we need to be doing this or this or this. I mean, they really helped us out with, you know, having the staff that knew what was going on. They trained us in reality.
That's a cute idea. Here's what really works.
Yeah.
So the place, it was never closed during the transition from when the original owner passed away and the family took over and all that?
Well, was it not only... We literally bought the place March 16th and opened it. 4 weeks before we opened.
Come on.
No clue how to even get a movie.
That's crazy. Well, you know, we talking about the layout and all that situation kind of leads us to the projection. And I take it in your guys' run, you have been digital the whole time?
Yeah, it had been converted a couple years before we had gotten it.
Not very many though. Yeah.
So any remnants of the 35 still lingering around in the booth as at 35 lovers as we are?
The only thing they still had there was the cabinet that had the doors were marked, for the reels, like the 1 through 12, and
is
Yeah,
in
the
there.
old 10-minute clock is still there on the old 35 mm.
Oh, we love it.
And you can hold it up and take pictures of the film. It's pretty awesome.
Oh, that's killer. So what are you guys running as far as your digital system?
That's a Christie projector.
Love Christie's. Have you guys gone to the laser situation yet or no?
We have not. I haven't even.
Rage is the you gotta go laser, right? Sounds so futuristic, right?
Right.
I've worked with both in the indoor situation, and never having to change a bulb is a blessing, but even though that's the future, I don't think it's as dire as the 35 to digital shift where I'm not coming there if they're not laser.
Well, and see, we're close enough to St. Louis that if somebody wants to see something in 3D or IMAX, they can. I think there was one year for Nick's birthday. This was, of course, before the drive-in days, where we went down and saw the newest Superman when it first came out down there.
Mm-hmm.
And we do visit the cinema in town. I think we went and saw Emma. Is it Emma or Megan?
Megan. Yeah.
We went and saw Megan at the theater here in town not too long ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to have the options and a nice little taste. We talked to Kara at the Highway 21, and she's like the only game in town. She's like, you'd have to drive an hour if you want to see a movie, period. Indoor, outdoor. And it's like, that's like the ideal situation where, they're coming. They gotta.
Drive-in once upon a time, one town over in Carlinville, Illinois.
Yep, Diane.
And there for a little while when they had both, and then they shut that one down over there and sold off the property. My understanding was, as a part of that agreement, because the owner did not want to have any more competition with his Litchfield Drive-In, was that as a part of the sale that was made, a promise was made that they would never open it back up as a drive-in.
Wow. I'm telling you, it's finding a way to angle it. I mean, but it makes sense, if you're the owner of both drive-ins, you want to take the heat off or the pressure off from any competition and just single it out.
Well, and we are the biggest town around. We have the Walmart, but that's still only 6,000. Springfield has 106,000. So we can draw from some pretty big areas to our little town. We even have a Route 66 Holiday Inn. We have a little museum. We have several restaurants and cafes and all of the fun stuff that you can go to.
And actually, the Route 66 Museum here has a section on our drive-in.
Yes, they do.
They actually still have our old projector there.
And you'll see that some of that was donated by Carol, so her name is on some of those things as well.
Oh, we love that. It's the story across the board is we had to gut and get rid of the 35 millimeter and go digital. And, nobody ever faults for that. It's the way the industry went. But to lose those machines, I'm so glad people can go and appreciate it and see it on display.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. When we were cleaning out last year, now remember, this is coming up on our 8th. So in the middle of our 7th year, we were cleaning out a cabinet and I found an old radio that goes, the ones that go on your window, the old speakers. They had a little heater and everything. And it was actually signed by the original cast from American Graffiti.
Oh, come on.
I knew you guys would love that.
Amazing. Yeah, it's it's the culture. It's everything that surrounds it. It just really makes it so special. I want to ask about the Christies, because my experience running digital at the indoors. Do you have any horror stories over your 7 years? Bulb blows, down shows, not to bring up any nightmare scenarios.
We ran into an issue once, and come to find out it was because our hard drive was corrupted. But we did end up having to issue free passes, and it was just one night. And it just so happened to be the night my wife was she was in the hospital, and she said the Facebook page started lighting up. She's like, "What is going on?" I'm like, "I'm in the middle. I'm on with
like I leave for one night." Well, that's a pretty good run. That's a pretty good record right there.
Yeah. So only one night that we haven't shown. So.
And we keep a of passes on hand that we give out as freebies when we do things like this, when we meet new people that haven't, or they're in the area and they've never been to a drive-in, just that kind of stuff for promotions. We keep a box on hand, though, ever since that night, just in case it ever happens again, so that we have a way to take care of people quickly.
So what type of films, being a single screener, you don't have the benefit of mixing up your genres, mixing up your fan bases, as we know. So when it comes to selecting films, what does best for you guys?
Well, that's why we kind of mix in a little bit of the B run with, some of the newer stuff. And unfortunately, with the way things have been going, with the Disney requirements now requiring 3 weekend commitments, that kind of,
we only play twice a week.
that kind of throws us out right there, because we're losing people by the second weekend. Your
because
viewership's down. So, that are maybe 2 weeks at the most.
I would say, though, that our biggest films, or our films that do the best, would be 2 genres. One would be horror. We do have a really good horror group around here. And then also that would probably fight pretty close teeth to teeth with family movies that are geared towards kids, because the whole family can come out for those.
Yes.
And we'll have 2 cars with 20 people from one family. You just never know how big or small it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah,
we try to mix it up as best we can.
The original sellout was Shrek. I think our sellout was during pandemic. We had Disney gave us some extra attempts at Hocus Pocus.
Yeah, we actually had to
we
shut
sold
it down.
out 2 nights in a row with that. But yeah, since then I would say horror or kid geared family stuff.
Yep.
You're speaking our language. That's pretty much the situation. We try to mix it up with series and bring in as much different genres and bites at the apple, as I like to say, for whatever your fandom is. But those family events, when you think about the drive-in, you want to pass it along to your children. Bringing something that they can bring kids to is kind of essential. And we see it. Anybody with more than one screen, it's like, that's the family screen, that's the alternative screen. But when you only got one screen, gotta make some choices. And the horror stuff, same thing for us. I think the grindhouse and modern appeal of the drive-in for a certain age, that's what they're thinking. They want to see something edgy. Want to clench your date, right? So how has business been over the last couple years for you guys?
Well, the year of COVID, 2020, was actually pretty phenomenal for us. We did pretty well that year, even though we were actually a month behind opening, because at the time Illinois had all theaters were basically shut down at that time. So
we had to petition the governor.
Yeah, but there was a bunch of drive-ins that went together and petitioned the governor to let us open, that, basically we could space people out in cars, and still make it safe for them. So
I'd say people are traveling again, but not as many people see advertisements for movies. So having and stuff like that is just as important, if not more, as it was before the pandemic, so that they can even have a clue as to what movies are playing. But I'd say we work with the local paper. We work, with different businesses around town to promote them, and that helps get our stuff out there too. I say this year is shaping up to be the best year yet.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
We even have a community free movie every single month with a sponsor from someone here in town, where they take over the movie. They give out a gift at the gate or a coupon, and then we just make the evening about whatever that theme is.
I was totally going to ask you that. We follow you on Facebook, and the promotions, like, we are starting to do sponsors this year, and people on to help support the expenses of any given show. But I saw you guys doing these free themed events with a kind of themed or like-minded sponsor, and I was like, that's genius. So do they pay an upfront fee are they paying for
They pay $1,500 up front. That covers our costs for the night and the movie. That way, if we have 2 people in the crowd and they don't eat anything, we're still covered. And then we typically take the money from the snack bar, and then sometimes they do, I can't even begin to Windy City Cannabis is out of Chicago, and they're sponsoring 3 nights, including one with a car show. Let's see, Animal Medical Center. This is their 3rd year doing a sponsored night. They typically, and I think this year they're saving that for their clients, but they typically also do free food that evening where they take up the tab. This year, their clients get a coupon so that they get free food while they're there.
That cannabis got all the money. They got all the money.
Right?
Well, I gotta say, that's the one that hooked my eye, where I was like, are they playing Dazed and Confused, sponsored by a local dispensary? Genius!
They've been a blast to work with.
That's awesome. I love it. I mean, like we were talking about earlier, it really is about staying kind of ahead of the curve, finding ways to cover that overhead, finding unique ways to shine a light on your theater. And it is the landscape of not just drive-ins, but Hollywood has totally changed, reshifted, recreated itself over the last couple years to really now, like, what is Hollywood? So this is the time, I think, that drive-ins really get to shine and create the example of how creativity can bring excitement back to the theater.
I like that. I like the way you just said all of that.
Do you guys find that the fandom comes naturally when you do the retro movies and the first run titles?
Yeah. I think we saw a lot of that both ways last year with the new Top Gun movie, Maverick. We had to play it 2 weekends.
Yeah, we did, what did we do? We did Tom Cruise movies?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
So we did Days of Thunder.
Mm-hmm. One weekend.
And Mission Impossible.
The next weekend. So, since we couldn't original Top Gun, but we had people who were like, man, we had to come both weekends because we had to see the second movie.
Showing up in their jumpsuits and going all out. Screwy as Hollywood is, at least there is a nice calendar, laid out, looking at the titles coming up for this year, 2023. If it's, you can argue about the originality of the titles, but boy, oh boy, there's some blockbusters in there, baby.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We're
kind
of
excited. Forward to it.
Yeah. We're finishing up that schedule and trying to make some plans over this week. And then we should be just about ready to start kicking it off and announcing everything. So it's coming up really fast.
So awesome. So cool. So situation with weather out there, do you guys find that you're always at risk like we are, or are you in a situation where, you can kind of kick back and be like, nah, not to worry about it too much?
We don't have to worry about it too much. I will say that I don't care who you are, where you're at. Rain on a drive-in day is going to bring your crowd down a little bit. However, we play rain or shine.
Everybody knows that. We advertise that, rain or shine.
It can thin a crowd, but just like some people like snow, some people like a cloudy, drizzly evening too. We've kind of just different weather for different folks.
Right.
I love when it works out with the movie where you're like, oh, nice. We got a little thunderstorm. One of the greatest drive-in experiences in the run at the Mahoning thus far, we were watching Bride of Frankenstein and had heat lightning in the back. So it was like the whole entire screen became the skyline. And it was...
Was that one we had the creature from the Black Lagoon? The old black and white, and it was one of them same things. It had a bunch of lightning in the background, and it just. But everybody's like, "This is so awesome!"
Like that.
Yeah, what a price!
Just for the audience.
You're like, well, our production value is off the chain. I called Mother Nature herself.
Daily drivers in with us that night, and it was just epic because all of their cars were, daily drivers. They got there, but they didn't necessarily look like they were going to get there. So it was just epic. It was a little eerie and a little throwback all the way around.
The vibe, the drive-in vibe. You really can't describe it until you experience it, I feel like the drive-in has an automatic lure for a lot of people. I run a drive-in. Oh my God. But getting them to come and experience it, it really is the challenge to get them to fall in love. So I don't want to bring up a sore subject, the theater for sale. What's the situation with the theater being for sale?
I was like, what's he going to say?
We have documents we've uncovered that
Be prepared.
ambush journalism.
The Litchfield Skyview Drive-In has been for sale for 2 years. We are for sale. A lot of that is because we're so busy. Nick is an electrical contractor. Nick is a sign guy. And I work for the state as a Senate photographer. And I also had an accident where I could not walk for close to a year, about 8 months. And it just came to the point where we had too much. And, you know, the time we had to spend together was when we were at separate gates at the drive-in. And we just reached a point where we needed to change our priorities around. But the reason it hasn't sold partially is because we want somebody who wants to take it from here and be, you know, in it, to win it, and to bring people back to it, to further it on, to do the next thing that it needs. You know, maybe it needs a putt-putt golf thing out on the South Green, or maybe there needs to be an ice rink there in the winter. But there's some room for them to grow and make it their own.
And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for owners to kind of take it to the next level, maybe.
Yeah,
that we
exactly
don't maybe have the time to, you know, give to it.
Where we can't do it justice with as crazy as our lives are, maybe the next person can take it and make it major.
Well, it's amazing to be, because talking to you guys, you know, you can tell your heart is so in this, you know, and carrying on the tradition of the drive-in is not an easy feat at all, as we are all living.
Mhm.
And the decision to recognize, you know, that it is time to pass those reins on to somebody who either has the time or whatever the case is really, really special.
It was a hard decision to make, and I would say that the fans aren't exactly excited about it, but at the end of the day, we want to, you know, if you make everybody a little upset, then at least you made everybody a little bit happy.
You did something right, you know. You certainly
Yeah.
are making an impression on people, you know.
Yeah.
And I love the fact, you know, again, following you guys for probably was the last 2 years. You could never, ever say that it is like a lack of energy or a lack of push, because it's constant, you know, it really is. You guys always have cool events popping up, always have something going. And that's what we love. You know, that's what running a drive-in really needs. There's a lot of owners who have become complacent. Is that the word I'm looking for? Where they just go with the group, you know? It worked for me 20 years ago. It'll work for me now.
Right.
And the world has changed a lot in the
Uh-huh.
last 5 years, let alone 20. Yeah.
You gotta dodge and weave and move with the flow. And
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Pivot.
well, I don't want to hold you guys all night. Want to give some of the guys an opportunity as well to jump in and ask some questions. But what's the plans for the future? Are you guys doing any upgrades, any changes, anything like that?
We actually just moved a wall back. While everybody was off for the winter, we were busy moving a little bit. We've made a space in that breezeway, in that hallway, where we're going to have a couple of claw machines. They're Route 66 themed, maybe. We're working on it.
We put in a lighted display case that's going to go out there, you know, now that we have a Guinness Book of World Records record.
So that we can put that stuff out and show it so people can see that too. Speaking of which, I need to print some of those images. We just got those back.
What is up with the Guinness Book of World like what is the deal? Did you guys have what happened?
A group came through and they were like, hey, we're doing a Route 66 documentary. Can we stop and talk to you? And they stopped and they talked to myself and to Jonathan. And it was a great little interview. We had a blast. And I thought that was it. Well, then they sent me a text and asked if they could send us another opportunity. Well, of course.
Always.
And that was the opportunity. Mobile One was doing a Keep Route 66 Kickin' event where they went to, and they started with 3, and I think they ended up with 5 total 66 event spaces.
Yeah.
Ours was the only drive-in, and they were just doing things in those communities with those event spaces to help bolster traffic. And that was their idea. Every single place had their own Guinness Book of World Record event, and with ours we had the most dogs at a show. We had 199 dogs that were able to come into the area because they were only had enough space, but we had close to 400 or 500 dogs.
Due to the way they had to count the dogs,
we could only count about.
We could only count 200, and one got disqualified. So we ended up with 199, and I think the previous record was what? It was like 127, maybe? something like that. Yeah. And
Wow.
we had closer to 300-400 dogs there.
Oh, it was epic.
A couple hundred weren't able to be counted.
But they just had a blast with it. And we do even have a Guinness World Record shirt that we have out now, and they are just eating it up. It gives us a little opportunity to help other areas like the Adopt a Pet in the area and some things like that. We try to give a portion back and just do what they're doing with us, support our community.
So beautiful. That's what it's all about. Talking to owners, there's always that through line. You don't run a drive-in to get rich. You do it for your community. And you guys are doing an amazing job doing that. And again, I can't thank you guys enough for taking the reins as long as you have, because all of our childhood drive-ins are Walmarts and Targets and, bowled over years ago. And the fact that you guys were able to come into your childhood drive-in as a couple and run it is something out of a Hallmark movie.
Well, we appreciate that.
Jeff, you got any questions?
I don't really. I mean, Virgil, you're so good at doing these now that I usually don't have a lot of questions left over. My question, you just asked it a little while ago, was, why it was for sale. And I totally understand that now. I started at the Mahoning in 2001 as the manager and projectionist, and I took the business over in 2014. So I've owned it, if you will, 9 years now. And it's something I always wanted because I grew up going to drive-ins just like you guys did. And Virgil just said it a minute ago, all the drive-ins I went to as a kid are gone. I mean, there's none left. So when I found Mahoning, I thought I think is where I want to stay because it reminded me of the drive-ins I went to as a kid. It's a huge drive-in. We hold 1,000 cars. It's got a huge screen and it's still a single screen. And so it takes you back. That's part of the beauty of it. And I think it sounds a lot like yours too. You're actually stepping back in time when you come through that ticket booth. And that's what it sounds like out there at the Litchfield too. It sounds like you guys you step back in time when you come through the gates.
Yeah, I agree with you there. We do still play classical music as well when you come in. Classic rock, I should say.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Part of the culture.
Classic rock is fantastic. We have a DJ booth where we have guest disc jockeys come in and they'll play all different kinds of stuff from theme related to whatever our movie happens to be at the time. I like to play classic rock. I haven't done it in a while myself, but I like to do classic rock. I started out as a disc jockey not too long out of high school. And so I keep that going today yet. But that's about all I can think of. Mark, do you have anything?
Well, I have one. It's not on the question list, so maybe this is ambush journalism. Do you have any that come to mind offhand, like wacky stories? Almost every weekend we have add to our list, but like one time somebody came in on a motorized unicycle. Like every so often there's something that it's like, write that down. This is one for the book.
Well, I was gonna say occasionally we have a guy that has it's almost like an old grain truck that they took the sides off of the bed and then they actually made it. It's one of them that's got a hoist under it and it pivots and they got these couches built into it. Nice. So that's what's like seating. And they come to the drive-in every once in a while.
Yeah, that one is
Awesome.
that one. We always have the stories of waking people up because they've fallen asleep.
Oh yeah, that's a nightly occurrence.
Condoms and throw on church movie night. Usually.
Yeah, you never know what you're going to get when you go up and tap on that window, right? Please be sleeping. Please be sleeping.
Probably only had, in fact, I know in starting our 8th season, we've only had trouble with somebody one time and had to ask them to leave in 8 years. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's amazing. There's a respect and love for the drive-in. I think people see that, especially when it's run by family. Who wants to screw that up?
Right.
We appreciate that sentiment.
Absolutely.
Well, and I mean, even early on, whenever, we first took it over, there was a lot of problems with, trash being left in the lot. And, we made a Facebook post about it and we showed our kids were actually helping at the time. They were maybe, 11 and 13 or something like that. And hey, just remember that they're helping us clean this up. So anything you wouldn't want your 11 and 13-year-old to find,
shame them publicly. That's the move. Yeah, you never know. You never know what you're going to get. That's what's so special about the drive-in. I really feel bad for the people who are locked into that
daily grind, and it's the same thing every day. We are coming into an open slate and an open screen, an open lot every single night that we run. So, well, we want to let the audience know where they can find you now that they've fallen in love with you guys. I follow you on the Facebook. What do you guys go by?
So the website's litchfieldskyview.com, and all of our social will be Litchfield Skyview as well.
Check them out. Do you guys do the Instagram and all that jazz?
Instagram and TikTok and Facebook.
TikTok? Are you guys running your own TikTok, or do you have the youth staff running it? Be honest.
I handle every single bit of our social media and our content.
Wow, I love it. Well, me and Mark know it. That's a whole other job.
Yeah.
Well, it's all a game. You have to kind of be out there, and if you're not, you're falling behind. You don't have a TikTok. You got to get the content out there. Yeah, it's craziness. Well, we love you guys. Keep up the great work, and whatever the future brings, stay in touch. Hopefully, we can get out to the Litchfield sooner than later. For sure.
That would be great. That would be great.
Yeah,
we'd love to have you come see us, guys. Maybe we'll come see you soon too.
Please.
Beautiful.
All right. Excellent.
Love it.
Thank you so much, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
You got it. On that note,
right.
Yep. Take it away, my friend.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for coming out tonight to the Mahoning Drive-In Theater. We hope you'll come back and see us again real soon. The exit is on the right-hand side of the screen at the front of the field, and most importantly, have a very safe trip home. Good night, and God bless you.